speakers talk about. So since it's a very broad subject, I request the panel members to focus more on the air supply chain management, e-commerce supply chain management. So on the panel today, we welcome Mr. Pradeep Luthria, who is here with us. And he currently is engaged with DP World in Dubai. He's based in Dubai as a senior information technology consultant. I was talking to him before we started the sessions in the morning. So he has put together a presentation on both IoT and blockchain to tell us a lot of things that we do not currently know about both the technologies. So we will have the presentation from him after the introduction session is over. We also have Ankit Taparia. Ankit very interestingly started with other friends and colleagues of Ankit. He started a company called Terrametrics Technologies a few years ago. And that company, over the years, grew to become a very large IoT organization based in Delhi NCR region. So they also have a large development center based in Jaipur, if I remember correctly, Ankit. So Ankit and Ankit's organization specialize in developing IoT applications. And some of them they also have done in the truck management industry and some in supply chain management industry as well. Also interestingly, over the last 1.5 years, both the Delhi airport and Chalabi have worked with Ankit to develop a few logistics-based IoT applications that we plan to launch in a few weeks from now. So he has a lot to share with us about IoT, the challenges that he faced, opportunities that he sees, and the applications that he developed in the supply chain management industry. And we also have Amar here, Amar More. All of you know him very well. So he's a very, very popular, known figure in the air cargo industry, both in the country, also outside. And Amar heads a company which is again very well-known company called Logistics Solutions. I think we as Indians are very proud that you and your team managed to develop a very large logistics solutions company based out of India. They are based out of Mumbai, and they have over the years developed several air, both passenger and cargo related applications, airline commercial management, airport cargo terminal management, airport custodian related systems. These systems over the years have become very, very popular in the air cargo industry. And they are also well represented. I request all the panel members, starting from Pradeep Luthria, to run through the presentations. So we have given them 15 minutes each. So the presentations together, all three, should take about 45 minutes. After that, we have allocated about 15 minutes for all of us to interact with them. You know, like all of you have a lot of questions, even I have my own questions also about IoT and blockchain. So very briefly, in fact, when we started putting the agenda together for the session today, this is one thing that actually very, very predominantly came to our mind. Now, all of us have heard about more than blockchain. In fact, we heard about Bitcoin. You know, that is how the discussion started about a year ago. Because we've seen people that have invested in Bitcoin over the last 1.5 years have made millions of dollars, crores of rupees. So there were many stories that were brought to us. And then when we started discussing about Bitcoin, we said there is something called blockchain behind it. And we were also told Bitcoin is not the only coin. It's called cryptocurrency, and that's not the only one. There are maybe a few others also worldwide that are in currency. So we researched a lot. You know, all of us have our own different understanding, and I believe none of us clearly understand, none of us completely understand what this technology of blockchain is all about. And if there is such a technology, if it is very secure, safe, and it is being adopted by many people across many industries, now how the technology is applicable in the supply chain industry, and to be specific in air cargo supply chain. So everyone sitting here, including me, all of us have a lot of things that we're not very clear about. We would like to learn from you, we would like to hear from you, understand from you, and also ask questions subsequently. In fact, what possibly attracted many people, you know, I have collected some information over the internet over the last couple of weeks. For example, if you had invested about ₹1 lakh in Bitcoin in January 2017, by the end of December 2017, that ₹1 lakh is worth 15.46 lakhs. That's the return that people have gained in investing in Bitcoin alone. Now, if you compare that with the return that other people have made that have invested in gold, for example, now somebody who invested 1 lakh in gold would have made only 1.11. So the appreciation was about 11%. So you look at other investments, silver, for example, would have returned only 4% compared to 1 lakh, between 15.46 lakhs in Bitcoin. So somebody who invested 1 lakh in Sensex in the beginning of the year 2017, and by the end of the year 2017 would have made 28% return. So I think if you look at all the investment opportunities that one would have, I think somebody who invested in Bitcoin made a return by several times. So that kind of attracted everybody's attention as to what is this, and whether we can invest, whether companies can invest in the technology, and companies can make use of the blockchain technology. So though variety of questions related to blockchain and the Bitcoin-related investments. So that's one example. So that's how I kind of started challenging myself, asking myself. So without taking much time, I invite Pradeep to start his presentation. Pradeep, please.
Having me here, very special for me to be here. I don't speak in India very often. In fact, this is my first time speaking in India. So I'm so pleased to make the acquaintance of Madam Secretary and all the other dignitaries and the board members of the ACFI, and of course the community here that is serving the industry so very well. Actually, I'm from DP World. Currently, I'm a consultant with them, but I was an employee with them for many years. And there are many similarities, of course, in what we do in the shipping industry. And there are many learnings that can be applied. And over the last few months, I've been actually quite actively involved in the air cargo segment as well for some other parties. So I'm actually, you could say that I'm here to speak a language that probably we will understand. Maybe some of the phrases and terms I might use may slightly differ, but you will immediately understand them for their equivalents. Otherwise, my experience in air cargo has purely been begging the counter staff to allow my wife to check in her extra 15 kilos. So that has really been a very often felt situation that I've been through. I would love to start my presentation, but I think they're having a technical problem. Shall I use my own laptop?
Thanks.
Oh, okay, it's up here. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so here we go.
Light, make the light.
The ones on top of us go off.
Yeah, here.
I am in human existence, we can do almost anything we want. And it's actually very apt summation by him, which is very thought-provoking. I have taken from the public domain, and some of it also may have come from sources where my application. And part of my purpose is to share onward to other people. So I have no bones about making that available. And so this is my apology to them, basically. Doing very exciting things, have actually shared a lot of detailed knowledge with me, and we are doing some very interesting projects together. So I do need to flag them out, and this is just the biggest there is IBM, and the gentleman there is actually my... Basically, a blockchain is nothing but a platform where all the participants come to know things at the same time. At the point of its origin, absolutely at the point of its origin, that something has started already. And so that does wonders for our planning, that does wonders for our bandwidth in handling things more efficiently. And so that's one of the main things you can just keep in mind. The difference between blockchain as a process enabler versus all the other tools that we've had. And the other thing is one version of the truth. Because we have multiple versions of information sometimes in our organization because we don't use one version of the truth. We extract information down from one version of the truth, then each function massages that information for their own purpose. But in doing so, what happens is there is some change in the information. In blockchain, everything remains there for you to see, and also the updates to that information remains there for you to see. So I'm showing you a slide, and Madam Secretary spoke about multimodal, and so did the other secretary from the logistics department. And I'm talking about the extended supply chain, where something is grown in a rural area, and then it's processed and it's packaged and it's coming to different stages. Finally, it's touching your part of the business domain, and it's being sent out of India, or the reverse is applying, where something is being imported. So we don't have currently enough visibility and transparency about that whole end-to-end process. We know about things only when we start handling them, when it comes to us. So this is, in this aspect, this is really creating all kinds of issues for us. And I am going to forward to a particular slide that we'll come back to these after that. But sorry, this is a very good example, a lesson from the past. So in 2006, there was spinach being sold in American supermarkets. After consuming some spinach, people fell ill. Some people even died. It was a very serious attack. So all the spinach was pulled from the shelves. And for 2 weeks to 3 weeks, no spinach was consumed in the whole country. And the impact that had on the growers of spinach and people who were handling spinach as a product was catastrophic. People were out of job, and it took a lot of time for people to trust again that spinach was safe. Had we had blockchain, we would have known immediately which batch of spinach came from which farm, and only which supermarkets were dealing with that particular consignment. The product would have been pulled, and the entire industry would not have been impacted. So this is one of the key deliverables that we can offer, the value proposition, as the Honorable Minister was saying, that we can tell our customers that if we work together to make this happen, we'll be able to pinpoint with great accuracy certain aspects of our supply chain elements. So I'm going to come back now to the remaining part of the... So these are the issues, and in the center there, actually the text is just not clear. We are so preoccupied with running our businesses that we've forgotten about sustainability and the environment. So my plea to you today, and it forms part of my presentation, is that whatever we do now to forward our business interests, we also look at sustainability, our environment, our society, and see that we put enough handlers and policies and best practices inside that brings all of that along. Because if we see Africa, and if we see so many other countries in the world where they were consumed with just exploiting, it's become too late now to go back and rework things to bring them back to how they were earlier. So I have included a little bit of that sustainability in my presentation too. So coming back to this slide, basically if somebody has the intent to have a transaction to send money, and it's not physical money, it's a currency which is, they've decided that this currency will exist in a digital form, but everybody who's involved in this transaction comes to know that this transaction exists and has enough data there, because there's a lack of trust that this person might be bringing fake documents to me. So imagine a world where that's no longer the concern. That's what, if blockchain is properly implemented, that's what blockchain can bring to you. So the money transaction here that you see, it's broadcasted to all. in the position of playing a role in approving that transaction, and it goes a lot of the way take that up and perform a trace if it's so required. Current legislation on cryptocurrencies varies from country to country. There are some countries who view it as a threat. They view it as making it easy for money laundering. So they have reacted in a very strong manner. There are some countries who are promoting it. So it's a mixed bag out there right now. It is a bit of a risky investment. Yes, people have made a lot of money, but those who have jumped in the race late, they have not made that much money, because that's when the sine wave has started to happen. How it's going to pan out, big experts like Warren Buffett and all that say it's not going to last. We'll have to just see. Actually, a lot of it depends on the kind of policies that come around the use of cryptocurrencies. So we'll have to just see. As a technology, it does prove that multiple parties can be witness to a transaction and honor its steps from start to finish, and that's been proven. But blockchain, basically used properly, has the ability to address almost all of those problems which were shown in the earlier slide. Why? Because the trust element comes into play. So this is a very simple example. There's a truck there, but you could be loading an aircraft, you could be loading a vessel or a train. The fact is that the whole process can now start right from the beginning, where the quotation for a certain product is taken up, and even you can go before that and say which all quotations were taken up, and everything gets recorded on the blockchain, all the way till the various steps that go towards loading on the transportation and the tracking that occurs subsequently. Now, each star there represents a write to the blockchain in that particular step. I do apologize, the slide is not clear because of the contrast I've used, the color schemes I've used, but you would recognize that. And we know now more about the cargo than we knew before blockchain with this particular example. So we know what blockchain is now. I hope my rudimentary explanation has given you, plus my example about the spinach has told you how important it could play a role. Internet of Things actually is a different topic, but it entwines itself around blockchain very interestingly. So things, IoT things, are anything fitted with a device that can send or receive data, basically. So there's a little cartoon there that the weighing scale is threatening to tweet your weight out if you don't bribe it. $50 or I tweet this out. So it could be that you could have a device equipped on any particular appliance or instrument, and it could be of use. Maybe you would have a hairdryer that when you're using, it detects that it's already been on too long, and it actually warns you, that I've been on too long, you'll spoil your hair if you go on further. I mean, the applications of IoT are immense. If you have a big software platform behind it that says, if you have dry hair, you should not dry for more than 3 minutes. If you have oily hair, it should be 5 minutes. So if all of those things are put together and then this sensor is added to the hairdryer, you can just imagine how powerful that would be for ladies and other people who are very worried about their hair all the time. So on one hand, we have those kind of capabilities. Of course, when we have cargo, we have sensors that can detect all kinds of changes of state, temperatures, threat conditions, deviations in the route that might occur, all kinds of things. The sensor technology, we have here Mr. Taparia, who's I just met him today, but I am looking forward to seeing what he has been doing. This is where all that stuff comes in, and the signals and the data that comes from this then gets written onto the same blockchain that we were talking about. So basically, when you have IoT with blockchain, you can enable IoT devices to participate in the blockchain transactions. You can basically reduce the cost and complexity which otherwise you might be using completely different equipment, completely different business process to achieve something. You might be able to do it quite easily just by thinking blockchain with IoT. So now, here is an example of the blockchain from start to finish, and then assuming that we were using a truck, the variety of different sensors that are available today on the trucks, where you could just about know that your parcel is now crossing Velipale station in Mumbai at 42 kilometers an hour, and the driver has a tendency of swerving so many times, and of course your cargo is very delicate. So you've received some information about how that cargo has been handled, more than what you would ever receive in a normal, how things are transacted today. So when you have that additional information, that can be plugged into the blockchain too and becomes part of that particular record. So handling claims, refuting claims, all of these things will take a very interesting turn on the adoption of these technologies. So this is the spinach story again. I do it because the topic sent to me was how to enable. This is a single slide because I know that we have short of time. This is not a technical discussion, but it's actually at a high level. This is as simple a process needed to set up blockchain. You have a product called Bluemix from IBM, and you get a fabric. Basically, it's a programming environment, and you get started from there. So Donata in Dubai have successfully tested blockchain with Fly Dubai, and this POC ran for about 7 months in all, and it achieved a lot of milestones. It was successful. And the government of Dubai themselves are very keen on blockchain. They promised that by 2020, most of the government services will be running on blockchain. So Dubai, Singapore, and many of the other progressive places are adopting blockchain very, very aggressively. So if blockchain and IoT coming together are helping us to solve all of these problems, maybe we can now talk about sustainability. So, you know, we know that the logistics, the supply chain actually has a lot of influence in how things are delivered, how they are packaged, how they are bottled, how they are served, and then what happens to that packaging afterwards is something that not everybody cares about. So we have a lot of issues on the planet with plastic, with tin, with all kinds of waste, and you know, we are not helping ourselves. We have to keep this planet going for many generations more. So it's now time to include the reverse part of the logistics, recovering the canisters, recovering the drums or whatever it is, bringing it back and disposing it safely as being part of the original cycle of sourcing and delivery. Some companies have gone some extra lengths. This particular company called Miwa, it's a Czechoslovakian company that I'm doing some work with. Miwa means minimum waste. So they have actually discontinued using any kind of containers like plastic containers or anything which are given away to the consumer for good. They are using a kind of a returnable process where the canister is washed and returned and goes back for refilling. So basically logistics players can influence packaging norms. So this is something I'm just trying to plant a seed. When we're talking about all of this, please include sustainability and the environment in your discussion, in your planning. So they have got this wonderful store there. You don't need anything. You go there, you have a mobile app. You choose what you want and it gets filled for the weight that you buy. So basically you buy food, not packaging. That's the concept. So blockchain improves logistics. I've got a little extra information here. Since the Honorable Minister of Logistics mentioned drone technology, here's another company that actually I'm working with. They are actually currently field testing some models that are aircraft drones that hit the sweet spot between the cost of current air cargo, shipping cargo, and they come in the middle in terms of their cost. Is that currently air cargo takes 12 hours and costs that much to move 200,000 pounds, and a ship takes at about 100K. And they are working on various different models to make that a reality. So this is one of their prototypes, and this is another model which they are also building the prototype for. It's a freighter. Now this is amphibious, so she lands on water, and it's good news for companies like DP World because we can use our ship-to-shore cranes and load and discharge this kind of drone. They feature a lot of easy access for loading and making use of every square inch of space that's available. And these are the field trials. This is from a pier in San Francisco where this work was going on. And that's the amphibious drone prototype. So there is a lot of excitement in this sector, which is why I am very interested to work with parties who are looking to do more innovative things in the air cargo space. So I hope that this has been interesting. And I hope that at least if one of the points I mentioned is something you have not heard before, then it's been worth my coming to Delhi and being part of this. Thank you for inviting me, ACFI. And I think I've reached my 15-minute mark. Yes, okay. All right. Thank you very much.
We'll have many questions coming up during the Q&A session. So for the benefit of those that joined us now, joined us when the presentation was in progress, I'll quickly summarize this presentation so that there is continuity in the session for the availability of information through the blockchain technology for all the players at the same time. That seems to be a very big advantage. The second one is that everybody that across the blockchain, using the blockchain technology in a transaction, will have access to the same tools, same data at the same time. That's a big advantage for many of us that have worked across the supply chain, sharing the systems like SAP, our own ERP systems, our cargo systems, our cargo airport systems. Now we have something like 14 or 15 different systems. A transaction goes through right from origin, from the manufacturer's place to the consumer's place. So it gives us the near future using this technology. And that also gives us the advantage to share information using this technology. So he said these are the three the fundamental blocks of the blockchain. He also talked about extended supply chain issues. He has given us many examples there. And we talked about this Finnish example where lack of information led to complete shutdown of consumption of a product in a large market. I think the availability of blockchain would have restricted that lack of consumption only to a store. That is an advantage as well. And he also very, very clearly articulated about the concepts of IoT, where he said any device which can send and receive data is an IoT device. And integrating IoT with blockchain, he clearly demonstrated how many more advantages such an integration would bring to the users of blockchain technology and the IoT technology. I think the ideas that you've shared about sustainability will greatly appeal to many people sitting here. And I'm also happy, and I'm going to keenly watch and look forward to the implementation of this new freighter developments that you've shared with us. Quite revealing to me, and I think the entire industry fraternity sitting here will look forward to the rollout of these new amphibian or the new large freighter technologies that you have presented to us. Thank you very much. So I'm
Ankit Tafriya, co-founder at a company called Terametrics Technologies. It's a pleasure to be here, and this forum is amazing because, as we understand, the stakeholders of the entire air cargo supply chain industry are sitting here. So what's the objective of this particular presentation? So we want that, towards the end of the presentation, at least each one of you have something to take back from the implementation standpoint. Because I think Honorable Minister, Mr. Jain Sinha, he put the thing very rightly, right? There's been talked about the IoT and its economic impact and $1 trillion and all those things, but where are those solutions and what exactly should be done so that that economic impact which is being talked about is actually realized? And I see that, having worked in IoT for so long now, it's been 4.5, 5 years now for us to be working in this industry, we understand that the real value or the most amount of value lies within the enterprises and the enterprise industry, which is basically asset heavy, which is the case with most of you people here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start off with a little introduction. So we are Terametrics. What's our biggest contribution to the IoT industry is that within India, we are the first company to give automotive and logistics industry its dedicated IoT software platform. So when I say dedicated, it means that we are specialized in all the analytics and KPIs which deals with this particular industry. So that was the thing. Last year, we were fortunate enough to be taken over by another company called GlobeTouch. So we are now part of that company, and they have a pretty good lineage. They are pioneers in the eye of IoT, which is internet in the connectivity space. That's the ecosystem. We have been serving customers all across the globe, and very happy to have recently got Chelby and we're working with them as well. So really happy for that. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start on a very light note. So when I see this particular slide, so most of you would be realizing that you would have seen it in your daily lives. The first one is from the Uber. Everyone, each one of us is nowadays using Uber to, find out where is my cab, at what distance it is, and what time it is coming. The second one is my, pizza tracker. I'm knowing exactly at what temperature is my pizza being baked. And the third one from one of the food delivery companies, Swiggy, providing food and exactly giving you where is your food. Now here's the fun fact. All these things, the lifetime value of these for any customer, not lifetime but maybe the single value for each customer is maybe less than $10. And it's still being tracked, monitored, and it's still being, everyone, each one of us is hooked as a customer. So what are they doing is that they're giving you an amazing customer experience, because when I know that where exactly is my cab or my food or my pizza, then I don't know, something happens in my body and I'm feeling happy about it. And at the back of it, these companies, they are scaling it like anything. So it's basically providing the operational efficiency. So can we actually, since we are going to go into the enterprise side of it, so can we take away from these companies, what are they doing? What is actually the secret sauce for these companies? So what we think, at the bottom of it, we say that they're doing three things very nicely. They are making the entire business on demand. Even though it's an asset-heavy industry in your case, but people are moving towards asset-light model. Can I make everything on demand? I don't then I use the asset only when it is required. It's not like the asset is lying idle, so that should be removed. can I get to know my health of the asset at every point of time? Because then, those black holes when I'm not exactly knowing the entire, let's say if I talk in the supply chain, what is happening with my goods or what is happening with the material which was transferred from port A to port B, what is happening in between? If I know that, can it be used? And third thing is the predictability. So when I do all these things, my predictability improves. So, these guys are using it for improving their operational efficiency. So keeping these three things in mind, what I'm going to do is that now move on to the enterprise side of it, which is basically going to be interesting to you all. And we have compiled a video for everyone here. Can I
decide between increase in revenue and reduction in operation, the reality of doing business. The Internet of Things, popularly known as IoT, is gaining popularity at a rapid pace, and we are moving towards a truly connected world. It supports flight safety and security, operational efficiency, single point of truth, and economic viability. Cutting-edge IoT technology platform called X-Fusion enables companies to analyze and correlate massive data emanating from millions of sensors, devices, and applications on their networks. The complex event processing enables new insight enhancing customer services, operational efficiency, and revenues. X-Fusion is a highly secure and reliable platform built on Python, Django, and Hadoop stack. The unique proposition of X-Fusion is 40% cost-effective as compared to leading IoT stack providers. Inbuilt analytical tool that can be integrated with R and Power BI. Choice of hosting on Microsoft Azure or in-house cloud environment. And quick development and deployment. X-Fusion architecture integrates device layer, connectivity layer, and IoT platform. These layers are integrated with IoT platform via X-Fusion Gateway, which includes protocol conversion and edge analytics. Now let's look into some of the successful stories. Fleet management. When vehicles are onboarded with sensors, they can be managed and controlled through a web application. GPS-enabled sensors give fleet managers real-time information about routes and drivers. This also enables Command Control Center for active refueler tracking and monitoring. Driving behavior of a driver can be audited for speed, acceleration, harsh braking, and fuel consumption on a real-time basis. Predictive maintenance. Uptime of fleet is an important criterion for the business. It includes reduced downtime, optimum storage of MRO equipment, and better vendor management for AMC. IoT platform enables real-time health of the fleet that can optimize assets usability by predicting failures and managing maintenance schedule. IoT platform integrated with sensors to monitor conditions like temperature, vibration, humidity, RPM, etc. supports machine learning analytics and manage just-in-time smart inventory. Workforce management. Traditionally, workforce management at the airport is managed via a paper-based checklist and walkie-talkie sets. X-Fusion IoT platform creates synergies by integrating omni-channel communication, load-sharing matrix, and real-time tracking of resources. Workforce solution helps all-time availability of business KPIs and manage SLA. Enables send active notifications and alerts. Assist on-site maintenance advices, and mobility-based workforces for quicker turnaround and paperless operations.
Alright, so a little bit of selling from our side, but the more important thing which we wanted to emphasize here is that the same concept which you saw there within the consumer industry is applicable here. So we are doing on demand, we are making things predictive. We are making and knowing the health of the asset using the sensors, using the mobile devices at each and every point of time. So using those building blocks, I would like to take you through some of the use cases, the scenarios which we are dealing with, so that it can be helpful in your case also. So first thing is the health of your supply chain. What we call is, can IoT be useful for determining the health of your fleet? Because fleet plays a very important role in the entire supply chain scenario. So what we say is that there are devices which are available in the industry now, which we use so as to understand what exactly is happening with your fleet at every point of time. So it understands how is your engine performing, what's your vehicle usage of the fuel at any point of time, and so on and so forth. So when you use these kind of things, so then what actually you can get is the fleet diagnostics. So all those maintenance and the service scenarios, which you generally do based on the event basis, you can predict it before and do a predictive maintenance things. I mean, I don't need to elaborate on the usefulness of that. It's really easy to understand that when you have a predictive nature, then in that case, most of the time your vehicle fleet in itself would be telling in advance that there is a problem and which needs to be sorted out. Now, in some of the scenarios, it's going to take place that it's environment sensitive. So can we then club these kind of onboard OBD kind of devices with something as temperature and humidity kind of sensors? So what we have done is basically make those fleet using these temperature and humidity sensors, gather the data from there at every point of time and use the connectivity part and bring that particular thing to a central command and control center. So that again, at every point of time, you know what's happening with the goods which were transported by one particular region, and I mean, basically the manufacturers and the shippers they know the condition of their goods. Moving on, when it reaches, let's say, a port, then again, it's important to understand how is my cargo performing. So again, there are enough number of sensors, devices, which can be put inside the cargo containers, gather data from that, and bring to the cloud and to the analytics platform. So it boils down to which platform are you using, but there are enough number of sensors in the market which can be used for that. Cool port facility. Once we have the goods put in the cool port facility, then again we have the different sensors which can talk to the RF gateway, get the data to a central gateway which is putting the data to my cloud for analytics purpose, platform again doing its analytics on top of it. Next, what I'm going to talk about is the health of your workforce. So let's say your assets are sorted, you have now visibility of how your asset is performing. But the people who are actually handling those things, the workforce, so in the case of fleet, it's going to be your drivers who are actually driving from one place to the other. Then how are they performing? Because every time when they move from, when they drive from port A to port B, then there is something traits which they are leaving. So basically, how can you do that? So here again, you don't need any kind of external hardware. I mean, the smartphones, which is very prevalent these days, is capable enough. So what we have done is we have made these AI-driven mobile-first technology, which is just running on the smartphones, which can be deployed easily which can be mounted on your fleets, or it could be used by a workforce, and then it starts capturing the data for you so as to provide the major everything what your workforce is doing. Simple example, a driver analysis. Now when my driver is moving or driving, then I need to know if there is any situations of speeding, harsh braking, there is any kind of distractions which the driver is doing, there is any frequent lane changing, cornering. So we capture them all using the simple mobile phone. I mean, that's the beauty of the hardware power which is being put in the mobile phone these days. And then compare those and use those particular data to identify, let's say, who is the best person to actually take your logistics or take your cargo from one place to the other, who is that particular best driver in that region or in that particular condition. So you can do all those comparisons based on your vehicle and the driver analysis. Speed analysis, I mean, speed plays a very important role in how the cargo is being transported. There again, using the same technology, we capture this particular data of what was the speed at different point of time, and then that could be used to coach the drivers back and then make them understand that here are the issues which were there and how to sort them out. So this is a new thing which we are trying to implement, which is basically using the cameras of the smartphones. So what we are doing is that we're capturing both the outside and as well as the inside of the vehicle using those the cameras. This can easily help you in any kind of incident reporting. So let's say there's an incident, then you have that particular data recorded with the help of your with the technology GT Zoom. then if the driver is facing any kind of fatigue, so this camera, it basically uses the AI and understands from the facial recognition that if there's any kind of fatigue setting in, then it could be intervened at any point of time, that particular driver to take rest or some other measures which the company follows. On-trip driving assistance, I mean, accidents, if they happen, it's a huge loss for everyone. So the same technology can be used for avoiding collisions because it can detect what are these objects which is coming on the road. So there again, it's basically putting in a safety measure for your fleet. Next thing is the third building block, which we believe is going to be very important for the industry, is the on-demand part of it. As I said, most of the other players like the Ubers of the world, they are using that particular thing to scale up and I mean, build such kind of good companies. So the on-demand aspect is that how can you make your assets available? If you're using all those technologies which I talked about before, then you can convert the complete logistics into an on-demand scenario. So you can have your real-time fleet on-demand pickup and delivery alerts. You can have delivery automated. You can have real-time delay planning. You can do all the route planning and optimization, which is based on the current condition which is there. The delivery optimization, heat pump analysis is basically to understand where exactly is the requirement. More requirement, then your fleet or your vehicles could be moved in that particular direction so as to meet those demands there. And then of course advanced geocoding is again, so it's on-demand services to be implemented using the technology itself. One example is the breakdown assistance, which we are already doing it. So now in case of any on-road breakdown scenario, then the vehicle and the driver themselves using the technology, they can transmit their exact position with the problem with what was the breakdown there. And the service vehicles who are again connected to a platform, they come to that particular region and identify and solve that particular problem in a faster manner. So basically turnaround time is much faster. So generally it used to take 6 hours for any vehicle to come back onto the road, now it's taking 2 hours. So it's again a small innovation using IoT, but great advantage which you can take on with that. Alright, so these are the building blocks, and finally, I mean, if you happen to implement some of these or a few of these, then what will ultimately is what you're going to be doing is that you're going to be staying on top of your business, because you're going to get an operations dashboard, which is basically knowing everything what is happening in the different pieces of your in different operations what is happening. So this is basically knowing instantly what's the business operations like, and all the KPIs are going to be available onto the dashboard, and of course on the mobile applications as well. This will help you to manage your workforce nicely, as we demonstrated in the video as well. The workforce management plays a really critical role. If you can use the mobile technology, then you remove all any kind of paper pen kind of scenarios, and it helps you to assign the roles and the jobs to your workforce in a better and more efficient manner as compared to the other time. This is really important. So SLA. Most of us, as you know, that the customers they need to know what is happening with the goods which they ship from the place. So those SLAs, if they need to be met and managed, then in that case, now with the whole value chain covered, right from the fleets to your cargoes to how the driver is driving, you can give all that view to your customers. So then they have a better confidence that yes, their entire goods are being in the right place, and they're being handled in the right manner. So this plays a really important role from the SLA part of it, which is basically extending it to the customers. So I'm going to leave the last slide, which is basically, as I was saying, the predictability part. So how can we improve on the predictability to drive the business efficiency? So as I said, if those building blocks are used for, then we have everything right from delay predictions to, rerouting on the basis of the demand and supply. And I think this is where you now need to take a stance to implement the IoT in your different business operations. Maybe those who have done, it's going to be a step further, IoT 2.0 from 1.0 to 2.0. And the benefits, as I said, it's again endless to reach $1 trillion economic impact, which everyone is being talking about. Thank you so much.